Alright, so what's up guys? Gonna have a fresh install video for you guys coming in today. We're gonna be installing a set of Diode Dynamics ss3 Pro LEDs and my fog lights that are the SAE approved, and they're in the color amber. I'm gonna show you real quick what it is that I've been running as of right now, and then I'm gonna dive in and install one side, and then I'll catch up with you guys and do a full walkthrough of how I did it for the other side. And that way, if any of you guys are trying to do the same thing, you can hopefully get to it. So I'll show you real quick what I'm currently running, and I'll show you the Diode Dynamic LEDs, and then I'll dive into it and we'll get caught up here in a second. All right, so what I've currently been running, and ignore that marker, I've got to replace it right now too, is just a set of LED pods from Amazon that are on the flood beam, and I threw on a set of rigid amber covers, which the amber covers obviously give the amber light, but it really cuts a lot of the light. The filter itself cuts a lot of the light. I really can't see much of the LED pod through my tinted windshield at that point, which obviously defeats the whole purpose of having a fog light. So here's how it comes in the box. Comes two boxes. One comes with the little harness at this end, the mount, a bag of hardware, which luckily it's separated each for each pod, and then in another box comes the two pods. So I got the ss3 Pros, SAE approved, in the angled fix. This ran me, I think, like 315 bucks shipped. I went with the angle because I'm gonna try to get as much of a flush fit in the stock fog light location. I'm gonna actually wire this right up exactly how I have those wired up. I'm just gonna solder this onto the other harness that I have and make it plug and play. It also comes with, you know, a set of decals, got a rep, Diode Dynamics. So I'm gonna dive into it real quick. Like I said, I'm gonna do one side, get it all done, and then anything that I come across, I'll be able to note and walk you guys through on the other side. And obviously, like, I'm going to show you everything that I did to get these mounted for anybody that wants to mount this style pod too. It'll basically be the same thing. But the way that I'm doing it, I'm going to make it plug and play to use my factory OEM fog light switch on my turn signal stock. For anybody that wants to install with like a remote or a switch, it really won't be that much different. You'll just have to use the wiring harness that you order, obviously, and pick one that you can solder on here. Or, you know, if you like butt connectors, that kind of thing. Me personally, I prefer to solder wires versus butt connectors, but to each their own. But it really won't be that much different. You can kind of follow the whole mounting process and then just do your thing when it comes to the wiring. So let me dive into it and I'll catch up with you guys here in just a couple minutes. Okay folks, got one side installed. Super duper easy process. I'd probably call this like a 2 out of 10. As like 10 being the hardest thing I've ever done and 1 being the easiest thing I've ever done. This works exactly like all of the Amazon pods. The Diode Dynamic pods work pretty much exactly like to install, exactly like the other Amazon pods that I've installed. So things that you will need, let's flip camera around. You're going to need to remove headlights and turn signals. So turn signals, pop up the center pin, pop that out, and then headlights will be a Phillips and 3 10 millimeters. This is at least for the 00 to, well, actually this is going to be a 03 and 04 models, because 2000 2002 fog lights are a little bit different like how this one is. So this is for specifically for an 03 and 04. Really shouldn't be that much harder for 05 06 because I know that their headlights are slightly different, but basically first step is to remove turn signals and headlights. Okay, so turn signal removed. Okay, turn signal removed, unplugged. Next is headlight comes out, and then you may need to undo your light bulb depending on if you're running a stock bulb or if you're running HIDs, LEDs, whatever the case may be. For me, it's just easier to unplug the bulb and get that setup out of the way. Okay, next step is this is for whatever setup you have. It's still going to be the same. Disregard the fact that I already have these pods on. Next, we're going to crawl under the truck, remove these 3 screws. It's a screw, not a bolt. So 1, 2, and 3. I really highly recommend just using a small 1/4 inch ratchet. These are all 10 millimeters. I really recommend using it because majority of these screws that you're messing with right now, they're all going into plastic. They're all screwing into plastic or bolting into plastic. And if you want to use like a little impact or a little air ratchet, whatever, that's kind of on you. Like I said, I really don't recommend it. These trucks are getting old, whether you want to face it or not. And so a lot of the plastic on these things, it's starting to get brittle. So let me pop this off and then we'll keep moving forward with the install. Okay, so at this point on a stock truck, you'll have your fog lights in here. There will be a tab right here, and it's the same thing on the other side. Basically, the stock fog light housings have like a little bit molded into them that comes out right here. Just press it in, press the tab in, and the fog light will come out forward. You unplug your bulb, and that's pretty much it. So now for anybody trying to do this, pause the video right here and you will see exactly how it is that these are mounted. I'm going to undo it and kind of show you, but just you can pause this, take a screenshot of it and use it as a reference. But notice how the bracket manages to sit like perfectly across. The bolt is held in by the bracket that comes in with the pod, and then it's just hardware on the bottom. So real quick, let me undo some zip ties, unplug this thing, and I'll show you from the top how you come in from the top. Okay, so this is how I wired mine in to use the factory fog light switch on the turn signal sock. You can see you can order this Pigtail. Just look up the stock fog light bulb size and then just look up harness for that same size bulb, and you'll get the little Pigtail. It's just a positive and a negative lead, and you basically just color coordinate and solder. So all right, so the reason we took off headlight and turn signals is so we can come up from the top. So this is where the fog light mounts, and as you can see, you got plenty of room to come in here with the drill. Literally just center up, get a center punch, drill a hole big enough to run the bolt through. That's literally it. It doesn't get any easier. Now we're gonna basically get the wiring harness cut off of the old pods and solder clean connections onto the ss3, the Diode Dynamic pods, and we'll get that all mounted up. I'll show you exactly how those all mount up real quick. Okay, so for those that mount these and purchase the exact same one as me, the ridge on the angle, that goes to the inside of the vehicle. So for example, this one is the right side. It's gonna be facing like that, and to this side will be like technically like the grill and stuff. You can also see that they have a D in the middle. You wanna face that like appropriately, so not upside down or anything. Then you get the bracket, you get hardware, so you get big nut, big flat washer, locking washer, bolt. These will all attach the mount to the bumper, and then you get 2 little washers, 2 little Allen bolts, and nuts, little nuts with nylon inserts. The nuts will go on the inside of these little slots. Trying to do this while holding the camera is not as easy as you may think. Okay, so it goes in like that, and obviously a nylon insert towards the inside. Bam. Get your washer, and for those that don't know, washers have a flat side and like a round side. Round side goes to like the head of the bolt, touches the head of the bolt. And then you're gonna mount the mount. So you really need 2 hands or like a tripod, but not a professional YouTuber, so have some patience with me. Now I will say these are the first set of pods that I've installed on the truck for my fog lights that didn't come with the appropriate size Allen key, so you will need to have a set of Allen keys. I'll tell you the size that it is right now. It's 5/32. So same thing on this side, and I would recommend snugging them up pretty well. You should be able to snug them up and still adjust them once they're up on the truck, but like you're gonna kind of have to use some pressure, if that makes any sense. And because if you don't, it's hard to fit the Allen key inside the fog light hole around the pod. Let me get this mounted up real quick. Okay, so there's a bracket mounted up. As you can see, I can still I can still move it around. It's just really stiff, obviously, but you can still move it around. That's exactly what you want. I'm gonna go ahead and try to center it up best as possible, take it over the truck, place it in, snug this up, and then we'll get to work on the wiring harness. Okay, so there's bolt mounted up. Literally the exact same process as the other pod. Through the bottom, you can come in through here. You need a 13 mil for these Diode Dynamic ss3 pods. You can, trust me, you can get this pretty tight. It's plastic. It'll still have some give to where even though it's snug, you can still like wiggle it around to adjust, but then it won't move. I'm actually gonna have to snug this mount up a little bit more. I have to try to sneak my hands in there. Hopefully I can, because you can see this moves way too easily. You should need a little bit more force to adjust it. You're gonna have to do fine adjustments at night, or like up against a garage door or something, so that you're not blinding everybody with these and pointing them right up at their eyes. So let me get this snugged up a bit, and then we'll get to work on Pigtail. Okay, so there's Pigtail ready to get soldered. Like I said, you can do butt connectors if you're not comfortable with using a soldering iron and all that stuff. I personally prefer soldering, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this soldered up real quick, and then heat shrink around it. I guess you could do electrical tape around butt connectors if that's the route that you want to take. You just want to try to avoid moisture getting in there as much as possible, and then you can use some dielectric grease if that's your cup of tea. I've never had issues with my connections corroding. But then again, I've never had them on that long. So real quick, let me get this soldered and we'll catch right up. Okay, Pigtail is made, connection soldered, heat shrinked and everything. Now let's crawl in the truck, connect this up. The little tab on the Pigtail that comes with the ss3 goes down. Let's see, goes right on in there. Doesn't have, like, at least the other side didn't have an audible click. This one did. You just barely hear it, probably not on camera, but I was able to hear it in person. Hook up right here, factory connection. We're gonna come back and clean this all up in just a second. Okay, so we're gonna leave this as is. Let me throw a headlight back in, turn signal in, and then we'll turn it on and check it all out. All right, so I just did a test run, verified that it works. I would highly recommend that you do that before doing this last part, but basically just zip tie up your wiring, clean it up, and install the last 3 plastic screws, the 3 screws that go into plastic here. And this is why I recommended just using a small 1/4" ratchet and not like a little impact or anything. So let me get this on and we'll turn lights on and show you guys the final result. All right, so here is, well, technically like second to last step. I thought that was the second to last step, but this actually is. You're gonna turn that on and, obviously flick your fog light on if you don't always have it on like me. That's pretty much it, folks. Doesn't get any easier than that for an install. And these things already look stupid bright. You can see all the yellow. Looks really good. Now we have one last step, and that is take your decal and photobomb your area of choice. All right, and that's it. Install done. Personally, my toolbox is my go-to for my sticker bomb. So now, being said, we officially have, our truck has officially become like that mainstream Toyota truck that I always critiqued a couple years ago when I first started making YouTube channels, making YouTube videos, and when I first started modifying my truck. But it is what it is, I guess, right? All right, with that being said, officially Toyota bro as fuck. Hit that like button, please share, subscribe, comment down below with any questions, and my Instagram will be in the description of the video if you have any further questions. Feel free to send me a DM on there and I will try to walk you through best as I can. Send me pictures, anything like that, of your truck with your Diode Dynamic ss3 pods. And if you've been watching up until now, I truly appreciate you. Thanks.